Former world champion Mikhail Tal is known for his fearless attacks, but not all of them were correct. In this video, we will look at the flawed attacking attempts by Tal and how his opponents could have defended and even turned the tables. So let's look at this game where Mikhail Tal is black and he's playing against Janos. So the game starts with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4. So we are in the king's Indian territory now. So then d6 gets played, f3. So this is the sameish variation. Castle, bishop e3, e5, knight e2. So if e takes d4 happens, knight takes d4. So all of this is normal. Then in this position, Tal plays the move c6. And the more popular move is d5. So I'm trying to close the center, or queen d2, and the game goes on. So in this, Janos played the move queen b3. Now it's not a bad move, but the queen is not the most flexibly placed piece there. So Tal plays the move e takes d4. So it tries to open the position. Then knight takes d4 gets played, and then he plays the move d5. He's like, I'm ready, sacrifice the pawn, but I want to open the position. I want to challenge the center because that king is still in the center. And this bishop still has to get out for the castle to happen. So this is still the right spirit, the right idea. Then c takes d5 gets played. Then c takes d5. And then in this position, Janos should have played long castle. And then if d takes e4, he can sacrifice a pawn to play knight f5, attacking the queen, and then this. And the position remains quite complicated actually. But he played the move e takes d5. Not the best idea. Now, please remember that you might have the right idea in mind, but the move order could be a bit off, and then your opponent would have an opportunity to punish you. And in this position, Tal, in trying to take advantage of his opponent's king in the center, made a mistake with the move order. So in this position, he played a completely unexpected move, knight c6. Wait, what? He's developing the knight on c6 while having the pawn on d5. What is going on? So, see, actually the idea is not bad. So, but the timing was. So he should have actually played the move rook e8 in this position, putting pressure on the bishop. Now, the point in this is that if king f2 is played, so of course this needs to be defended. Otherwise, what will happen is if knight c2, then there is bishop f5 type of ideas. So the pressure will remain. So let's say if king f2 is there, now the king is already weakened. So then knight c6 idea of Tal would work. And then what happens, we'll see. Of course, we'll look at the game. So, but how does things change? Like why could, if the idea is working after rook e8, then why is it not directly working? Because rook e8 attacks the bishop, so it forces white to move the king, and that actually weakens his king. But in this position, the thing is that he can directly play the move d takes c6. Okay, what's the big deal? Can rook e8 still not be played? So yeah, so rook e8 was played, d takes c6, and then here white missed the opportunity. So what white should have done is white should have gotten the king safe by doing long castle. So please remember that when you have extra material, you can give a part of it back to actually deal with your opponent's activity. Now, if of course Tal has to recover the piece by doing this. Now there are a couple of moves that Janos could do. One is c takes b7, bishop takes b7, and queen takes b7. He's up a piece. Another move that he could go for is knight c2 and even try to eliminate this rook. So if this happens, now there is knight e3, or even c takes b7 and then knight e3. But more simpler would be this. So let's look at this one, this. Okay, maybe this check can be given, but this, and if b takes c6 or something, now suddenly bishop c4, there is pressure over here, and Janos is actually up in material. And Tal's attack, not as much. So he should have. So the problem, what happened with that knight c6 move? He sacrificed a piece. So Janusz gets an opportunity to make his king safe. Here in this position, he cannot do it after rook e8. Because if long castle, then the bishop will fall. And then Tal would be up a piece. Tal had the correct idea, but the move order was wrong. But actually what happens is that sometimes when our opponent plays such unexpected moves, we get a bit nervous and then we make some mistakes. So here Janusz played the move king f2. Not the best move in this position. And we'll see how Tal punished him for that. But before that, I want to say something. So I run a platform, Neurons.com, and every day you will find new positional puzzles there. The main goal is to train the skills like piece activity, exchanges, pawn play, long-term planning, and many other things. So there are good number of things apart from the daily positional puzzles. So please check chessneurons.com and improve your game. Now, coming back to this position. So after king f2, Tal played the move rook takes e3. So this is what he was planning. He was planning to sacrifice more material to take advantage of this weak king. The point was that if king takes e3 happens, then he has plans of playing knight g4 check and then keeping the pressure on that king. So in this position, Janusz is like, all right, I'll just play rook d1. I'll improve my rook's position and then maybe I'll try to take this or even this. But then he missed the brilliant move of Tal, knight g4 check. So he's sacrificing the knight to keep the attack. So in this position, if something like king g1 was played, then he has another brilliant move in his mind, that is rook d3. So the point is that if rook d3, then bishop d3. Even better would be after rook d3, queen takes d4, rook takes d4, bishop d4 would be made. Yeah, so this is actually just lost. So in this position, Janusz for that reason took the knight. Then Tal played this. The king is extremely weak. And then rook takes d4 was played, queen takes d4. Now Janusz is trying to exchange the queens in this position. But then Tal has another brilliance in his mind. Rook e2 check, double check by the way. So the point is if king g3, then queen g4 is made. And if king takes e2, this is what was played in the game. Bishop g4 check, king e1, rook e8 check, bringing the rook in the attack. And if of course knight e2, then the queen goes. And bishop e2 was played, rook takes e2, king f1 has this mate, knight e2 has queen takes d5, Janusz resigned. So please remember, next time your opponent is trying to attack you by sacrificing significant amount of material, don't be nervous. Try to look at certain ways to get your king safe, or try to give a part of the material back to deal with opponent's attack. If Tal's opponent had remained calm, then the attack of Tal would have backfired. Now, let's look at another game of Tal. So this time he has white pieces and he's playing against e1. So in this Tal played the move e4 and e6. The French defense advanced variation. So c5, c3, knight c6, all normal. Queen b6 gets played. Bishop d3, c takes d4. C takes d4. Knight takes d4 is not possible because capture. There is bishop b5 check, and then the queen would fall. So in this position, bishop d7 was played by Evo. Then Tal played the move castle. He's ready to sacrifice the pawn because now the bishop is on d7. So after the capture, there won't be bishop b5 check, but Tal is like, all right, I'll get the lead in development and then try to do something. Knight takes e4 was played, knight d4, queen d4, knight c3. He's even ready to give another pawn because he will have lead in development and black's king is in the center, so that e file would be dangerous. So then Evo played the move queen d6. Then Tal played the move knight b5. Now in this position, Evo should have played something like queen b6, keeping the pressure on this knight, and then the game goes on. But he played the move queen b8, a passive move. And then in this position, Tal played the move queen f3, improving the queen's position. So there is not just ideas like these because, of course, this e pawn is pinned, but the main idea is to play bishop f4 and try to do something, taking advantage of that queen on b8. So then in this position, bishop d6 is something that was played by Evo. Then in this position, the best move for Tal would have been knight takes d6, queen takes d6, and then bishop f4. And if something like queen b4, then he can try to play queen g3, putting pressure over here and putting pressure over here as well. So, and by the way, queen takes b2, then bishop e5 is coming. So it won't be that easy for black to castle on the king side, and that gives tremendous activity. Also, this is what he should have done, but he actually played queen takes e5. He went after the central pawn. So then Evo played the move bishop takes h2, king h1, and in this position, however dangerous the position may seem, it's extremely important that we should try to focus on our development. In this position, Evo should have played something like knight e7, and of course, the position is complicated, but he is not worse, and he would get his own activity. But in this case, he did not do it. He played the move bishop c6. He's improving the bishop's position, but not the best idea in this. So one of the moves that Tal should have played, Tal should have played queen h5 in this position, keeping the pressure on this bishop, and there is rook e6 idea as well. So, but he played the move queen g5, not a bad move because he's keeping the pressure over here, but that queen h5 would have been a stronger move. So then knight f6 was played. Now f4, trapping the bishop. Then h6 was played. Queen takes g7, then rook g8. So Evo was planning, right? If the queen goes to h6 or f6 or something, then rook takes g2 and then try to create certain chances. So this is what he was expecting, trying to attack Tal. But then Tal played a brilliant move in this position. Rook takes e6. And yeah, this is actually, the game will soon be over because bishop g6 check this, queen takes f6. And in this position, if king c8 is played, then just queen takes e6 and then this rook will fall. If king d7, then also queen f7 check, and then this rook will fall. And this is just lost actually. And Evo resigned in this position. So the most important part in this game was that even if your opponent is attacking you, please don't ignore your development. Please don't ignore your piece activity, because if your pieces are active, if your pieces are developed, then the chances of a successful attack of the opponent would reduce. Evo did not do that, and then Tal punished him and then won the game. Thanks everyone for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.